If you ask a winter person why they prefer winter, they'll usually give you the wrong answer. They'll talk about the aesthetics, the snow, the quiet streets, the way a hot drink hits when your hands are cold, the sound of a fire. Those answers aren't lies, they're just the surface of something they haven't fully articulated to themselves. Because the truth is, most people who genuinely prefer winter aren't in love with the cold. They're in love with the permission the cold gives them. Summer, in most cultures, is a season of demand. You are supposed to be visible. You are supposed to be doing things. Your calendar fills with weddings and beach trips and rooftops and someone's cousin's birthday barbecue. There is a socially agreed upon narrative that this is when life happens. And if you're not out there having it, something is quietly wrong with you. Even the body is on display in a way it isn't the rest of the year. There are fewer places to hide. Everything is exposed. The skin, the schedule, the mood. Winter releases all of that. Winter is the season that the culture, almost by accident, allows you to disappear inside of. The days get shorter, everyone goes home earlier. There's a soft, collective agreement that it's okay to be tired. It's okay to cancel. It's okay to spend Sunday reading a book with a blanket over your legs, and for a specific type of nervous system, that agreement is the closest thing to freedom the calendar year provides. That's the first layer. The second layer is more interesting. Winter people, on average, have a higher tolerance for interiority, meaning they're comfortable being alone with the inside of their own head for long stretches without needing an external event to justify it. Summer, for them, isn't unpleasant because it's warm. It's mildly unpleasant because it constantly interrupts their inner life. It drags them out. It fills their evenings. It insists that they be somewhere. Winter, in contrast, respects the boundary between the inside of the person and the outside world. It closes the door quietly and lets them think. This is often mistaken for introversion, but it isn't exactly the same thing. Plenty of extroverts prefer winter. What winter people share isn't shyness. It's a preference for depth over breadth. They'd rather have one long conversation with one person by a window than a rotating cast of small interactions at a pool party. And winter is the season structurally biased toward the first kind of experience. There's a third layer, and this is the one nobody talks about. Winter people often have a very specific relationship with their own body. Summer asks the body to be seen, to be tan, to be lean, to wear less, to sweat in front of other people, to perform its comfort with itself in real time. That's an easy ask for some bodies and an exhausting ask for others. And for the exhausted ones, winter is a form of mercy. It gives them a socially acceptable reason to be covered, to layer up, to disappear into a sweater, to have their edges softened by fabric. This isn't necessarily about insecurity. Sometimes it's just about wanting to move through the world without your body being the first thing anyone reads about you. Winter makes that possible in a way summer refuses to. That's why so many winter people describe a very specific kind of relief when the weather turns cold. It isn't just physical, it's the exhale of finally being allowed to be present without being presentational. There's a fourth pattern, and it might be the most important one. Winter people tend to have complicated relationships with joy. Not that they don't experience it, they do, but their version of it runs deeper and slower than the culturally dominant version. Summer, in the popular imagination, is the season of loud, obvious happiness. Sunshine happiness. Golden hour happiness. Everyone laughing on a beach happiness. And for people whose inner emotional landscape doesn't match that setting, being surrounded by it is quietly alienating. It's the feeling of watching a party you're not really at. Winter has its own version of joy, but it's a quieter one, closer to contentment than to celebration. A cup of tea kind of joy. A book by the window kind of joy. A long walk with no one else on the sidewalk kind of joy. For people whose nervous systems are calibrated toward that end of the spectrum, summer joy always feels a little bit forced, and winter joy feels like coming home. The Danish word hygge gets thrown around a lot in this conversation, and it's usually mistranslated as coziness. That's close, but it's missing the psychological center. Hygge, more accurately, is the deliberate creation of a small, warm space in the middle of a large, cold world. The cold world is the point. Without the cold, the warmth has nothing to mean against, which is why the winter people who love hygge don't really want the cold to end. They need the contrast to feel the sweetness. There's also a subtle piece about time. Summer, culturally, is about now. It's about the moment. Be present. Enjoy it while it lasts. Get out there, live. Winter has a longer time horizon built into it. It's the season of endings, of the year winding down, of things quieting, of natural rest, and it invites a kind of reflection that summer actively resists. Winter people are often the type who like taking stock. They journal, they plan, they review, they notice patterns, they think about their lives from a distance and try to see the shape. Winter is the only season that consistently makes space for that kind of thinking. Summer keeps pushing you back into motion before the reflection has time to land. And then there's the smaller, private thing that most winter people know about themselves and rarely say out loud. Winter is easier to be sad in. That sounds bleak, but it isn't, really. Everyone is sad sometimes. The question is whether your environment gives you permission to feel it or fights you on it. Summer, with its cultural insistence on joy, makes ordinary sadness feel like a failure. You're supposed to be happy. The weather is nice. What's your problem? Winter takes the pressure off. A quiet grief in December looks, from the outside, like a person having a normal winter evening. There's no interpretive burden. You get to have your interior weather without anyone commenting on it. And for people who live with their emotions close to the surface, that permission is enormous. Put all of this together, and what you find is that winter people aren't really preferring a temperature. They're preferring a set of implicit permissions the season grants them. To be quiet, to be covered, to be inside, to be reflective, to be tired, to be sad if they need to love in a smaller, more intimate way, to let joy be a warm room instead of a loud one. You can see why, when you ask them why they prefer winter, they struggle to answer. Because the honest answer isn't about snow at all. It's something closer to, winter is the only time of year the world stops asking me to be someone I'm not. And once you understand that, the preference stops looking like a quirk. It starts looking like a very quiet form of self-knowledge.